If the three of us were partners, I would immediately say that we are neither too far inside Bodrum nor too far outside Bodrum. I'd say let's buy a nice plot of land between the very outside and the very center of Bodrum.
As Mr. Sen said, there are many friends who can solve procedures that are normally very difficult to solve without hurting anyone and without illegalities.
When we bring it from 2013 to today, it is now in a better situation than real estate. Your prediction?
If you have time, if you have money, it is a technical issue, you solve it somehow.
In general, unfortunately, we Turks have a very high ability to adapt to the situation, which is partly due to the way we do business.
As a consumer, I wish for the real estate agent to provide a preliminary study of the property and include all the mentioned elements. I'm waiting as a buyer.
There used to be over 100 sales to the British a month only in Bodrum. There are not that many sales in Muğla now.
Sometimes the customer may not know what they want.
Even if there were isolated incidents, they were exaggerated a bit in the European press.
When there is more than one real estate agent in a house sale, no one wants to split anyone else's share, so they try to get the real estate agents out of the way. Business goes down.
It's an interesting point. If I can give you an example of why. The concept of real estate I see in Bodrum in particular is that everyone here has become a merchant. And in the form of that merchant, they put real estate into it in a way that brings it to the market. And in terms of playing at this price, very dangerous. The appraisal says it's 2.5, but the dealer says this is 5. Now the difference is huge.
They should not believe everyone and everything.
It is more advantageous for me to buy with my foreign identity rather than my Turkish identity.
I think that recording the real purchase and sale prices of all houses will affect this market very positively in the coming period.
The first house is very cheap and the best option, but it is a risk. The last house is the safest but the most expensive.
Bodrum is a very beautiful market.
This is a question that viewers are asking: who determines the price of the property and how?
Prices have come down a lot in real terms. I think prices in Bodrum are way below what is acceptable right now. Look, even the houses that he tried to sell for 20 million, he is selling them for 12 million this year.
People who paid interest got 100 bread loaves back then, but now they can only buy 50. Our friend who was a dollar trader had enough money to buy 100 loaves of bread. Now he can buy 110. Our friend who invested in real estate now has enough money to buy 260 loaves of bread.
In my projects for 5 million, 7 million, 9 million.
We are talking about the Turkish lira.
How regulations and policies impact the sector.
The earthquake, terrorism and coups don't end. Something happens.
Unfortunately, at the point we have reached today, there is serious insecurity. The matter in question. This also comes out in our conversation.
Welcome to Welcome Center Bodrum channel. Today we have brought together investors, developers and real estate agents. I will ask them 15 questions from you. First of all, let's introduce ourselves. I started real estate 2 years ago. I now film videos exclusively designed for the real estate industry. Shall we begin with you?
My name is Cem Şenoğlu. I represent Forza Group. I am a former soldier. I represent a company that has been in the construction sector for many years. My company has connections at home and abroad related to swimming pools and purification.
Bahri Aksoy from Germany, of the group that brings together businessmen. We are here to represent how we can bring foreign capital to Bodrum.
Hi, my name is Urğurda, and I made the journey from Istanbul to Bodrum in the year 2018. It was quite an experience. I was the general manager of a big company in the watch industry. We imported watches from Switzerland. I moved to Bodrum in 2018. I've been a real estate agent in Bodrum since the beginning of 2020. Bodrum real estate market, foreigners coming here. How do we evaluate his point of view? We will talk about this together.
First of all, I would like to say something like this. Among the incoming questions, there is a question: how do current regulation and government policies affect the sector? When answering this, I think that everyone gives their own answer and that they will not be able to remove the video after it is published. I would like to say, if you're ready, I can begin.
Cannot be changed after publication.
If you're ready, I can start. I'll ask the first question then. I know that people in Europe, what are the reasons why they experience insecurity problems?
It is a question that usually comes from Europe.
In general, unfortunately, we Turks are a little bit. We have a very high ability to adapt to the situation. When something happens to us in many jobs, we are a nation that finds very quick solutions in different sectors. But sometimes these solutions, it can be very unethical. Maybe out of necessity, maybe for other reasons now. Because of this, many Europeans have unfortunately had negative experiences in many sectors in Turkey. For example, in Bodrum many years ago, the British, there have been problems with some of their purchases. There is distrust because of this, but this distrust is a problem that can be eliminated by people like us working. But I think we can fix this in a certain period of time by explaining ourselves, giving confidence, and doing the right things.
In regards to contractor acquaintances in the building industry, I believe that if appropriate communication and thorough research are conducted in Bodrum, ample opportunities can be found. Even our people from all across Turkey are incredibly interested. I am sure that it provides quality, reliable service and stands behind its work. Let me just give you a small example. You're going to have a meal somewhere. On the way, without doing any research, if you sit down to a meal only because the person standing at the door convinced you to do so, you may be disappointed. But if you do this by researching the place beforehand, researching the food, looking at the price, looking at the copies of the experiences on social media, there you will probably get a satisfactory result with references that have been working in the area for many years, with references showing the work they have done and documented. I am sure that our friends working legally can provide extremely good service in the sector. In fact, as Mr. Cenk said, there are many friends who can solve procedures that are normally very difficult to solve without hurting anyone and without going into illegalities. Our institutions are working accordingly. There is a well-intentioned phenomenon, both in terms of the contractor, the builder, our laborer friends, our institutions, our municipality, and the state. Therefore, if the right research is done, I think it is a very reliable sector, and it has been standing behind it for years. In the work we do, I see many of my friends standing behind the work I or my other friends have done, even after 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. It is important to choose the right person. Being a little selective here, it is more important to look back at those references than to get persuasion with a smiling face. I think if they provide that, they can get a satisfaction from this sector that they cannot get anywhere else in the world.
I would like to say one more thing. As a result, all over the world, some people with bad intentions can do something. Something like this also happened here. Even if there were isolated incidents, they were exaggerated in the European press. Therefore, there is a little bit of a rumor here that foreigners in Turkey may have problems, especially in the housing sector. We could claim it's quite exaggerated, but still somewhat accurate.
In general, I can say that the preliminary work here, that is what we call an appraisal, and by explaining our work to people better, I'm not going to make the basement and the value of construction together. If we blend it and introduce it to people, this distrust can be eliminated.
We can say it, that's what I think.
Now, returning to the British, why did we lose the trust of our dear friends? It seems that this happened due to various reasons.
So it is like this.
This one.
The real estate sector in Turkey already has a lot of problems with zoning. When will it be transferred to condominium ownership? People buy properties when there is a condominium easement. Then there are some problems related to obtaining occupancy permit. Sometimes an application that is actually not a problem for us is a problem for foreigners. But the British especially, because they buy very intensively. So I can say this much. 2,000 is their average. 2011 until 2012, there used to be over 100 sales to the British a month in Bodrum alone. Now, there are not that many sales in Muğla. In other words, there were some problems because there were too many and such a word spread. Even government stepped in or something. That's why there are some problems, especially with the British. How can it be solved? We have no choice but to give super service to the newly arrived Brits and solve them with great satisfaction.
Very nice introduction, super service. If we're going to fill in the content of this super service.
So, super service is a very simple thing. Super service is not lying and being honest, nothing else.
Isn't this the essence of Turks?
And a little bit of hard work, of course. For example, it is very important for Europeans to be on time. When they say 2 o'clock, you have to be there at 2 o'clock. This is the first one. Secondly, you have to be knowledgeable. You will say what you don't know. I don't know, for example, we Turks don't like to say it very much. Say, I don't know. No, if you don't know, I don't know. I will learn for you. After that, we will always tell the truth. We will be honest. That's it. So when we do these things, then when you do a good job with one Englishman, then 5 more Englishmen will come to you. That's it.
That's how it is today. An important element of trust is the note.
Do you have one-on-one contact with the customer? I mean, finally with the consumer.
It happens.
It's happening.
Now, of course, there is a very difficult word here. This is also valid for us. It also applies to a manufacturer, producer, laborer. At the same time, I think it should also apply to the other side. Knowing what you don't know, this is a very critical thing. We are going to make an application, we are going to make a technology, but we don't have experience. Then we will do something about installation. For example, we haven't done procuring before, we will do it. In this case, it is very critical to hire the one who knows, that is to hire the right person to supervise it, apart from the practitioner. This is also very important for the person who is going to buy or operate or lease. It is very critical for investors to hire professional intermediaries like you to find the right people. Sometimes the customer may not know what they want.
You were saying this is very interesting. I would like to open it. For example, let's say a work like this. Let's say we call it a product catalog. The material you use from the concrete. The consumer does not know this, of course. How will they know about the stone and so on and so forth? We call this an open book. I think it is important in terms of providing confidence in the form of an open cost. Because when you look at the figures here, you say that the land value is this much, the villa is this much, 1.5 or 2 million. We are talking about dollars or euros, but the citizen is looking at the idea. 100 meters, it is a question mark. So when you make that detailed presentation, if such a study is done and presented to the people, the consumer will be more comfortable here to make a decision.
Of course he does, but I think there should also be a point of expertise that oversees this, beyond our presentation. They should also apply to people who know this. I mean, don't misunderstand only real estate agents. I will directly call the name real estate agent. I mean, this is a job I respect, first of all. More than our real estate agent friends or contractor friends, they should also enter the more technical branches in between. For example, I will buy a house and get $3 million. There is only the information given by the real estate agent or the contractor should not be enough for me. I should hire a mechanical engineer there. Will this house be heated or cooled? I should hire a construction menu if I have a fear about that. Will it collapse on me? How long will it last in an earthquake? Or if there is an earthquake fear that makes this study about this. We have very professional companies that do earthquake tests. They take cores and mums and do stress tests. We have very good building inspection companies that examine them. When you get the right reports from them, he will have already seen everything. Oh.
Now I would like to add something. The issue where customers experience insecurity is usually not technical issues. It is the price issue. Is the price expensive? Is it worth it? Because you know that Bodrum is not like Turkey. Everything is 2 or 3 times. When there's more than one real estate agent. Trying to get the real estate agents out of the way so that no one splits anyone else's share.
If I can give an example of the reason real estate is actually a very valuable profession, a very beautiful profession, and in fact it is the duty of the real estate agent to fill that sentence, which includes real estate, which completes that sentence. In other words, the property you are going to buy, all these elements that you mentioned, that real estate agent, to present me as a consumer with a preliminary study as a buyer. What I particularly see here in Bodrum is the concept of real estate. Everyone here has become a merchant, and in the form of that merchant by including real estate. Somehow in a certain manner, and in terms of playing at this price.
So now it is like this. Of course, the purchase of real estate is the same for both Turks and foreigners. It is the biggest financial transaction, operation. I mean, when people buy a pair of shoes, they go back and forth 10 times, try on them and so on. But when buying a real estate, of course, they should know every detail. They have to know all kinds of risks, all kinds of advantages, all kinds of details, and price is one of them. Now, it is not easy with this. But at the end of the day, it's not easy. They need to find a real estate agent. I mean, if you don't trust them at all, there is also a problem here with the real estate agent. The real estate agent will sell it, and if the sale is realized, he will make money. I mean, this house is not very suitable. There are some problems here, which is difficult for a real estate agent, but it's an obligation. I mean, if he doesn't do it, imagine a real estate property that has very bad features without mentioning those features and causing the sale of that property and having earned quite a substantial sum of money for providing this consultancy service. Can you imagine that foreigner or even a Turk, what they might think about this real estate agent? But what you really need to do here is to find someone you can trust, a real estate agent you can trust. And how do you find that? This is not a watermelon. Where do we do it? I mean, by asking a number of people. I mean, in the end, how can we... When we go to a restaurant, we don't ask a passerby how the restaurant is. How is it here? From someone who has been there. Someone who has been there, someone who has bought there, someone who has bought a property in Bodrum. Or he will inquire trustworthy individuals if they have knowledge of someone. Well, someone trustworthy, he has to find it. If not, so anything can happen to you.
Here again, he used a very nice sentence. Someone he trusted. Trust
Yes,
again.
trust.
Yes, trust.
But look, life is like this. I mean, for example, look, okay, real estate is our biggest investment, but what is our most valuable asset? Our life, isn't it? So we go to the doctor. I mean, the man says he's going to cut it or something. The doctor says, you know, we ask 1 or 2 other people at most. I mean, we don't go and ask 300 people. We don't ask all the patients undergoing surgery. In life, I think finding people to trust, the most important factor in life success, I think it's his dick. If you can't find him, if you can't find people to trust,
this one, and that's
it's very
where
difficult.
I'll come in again, looking for that trusted person. Or rather, their people. Yeah, in the industry, unfortunately, at the point we have reached today, there is a serious insecurity is at stake. This also comes out in our conversation. And you, Mr. Cem, are also interested in how to present the structures you have built to people better. I understand that it starts. How is such a work? I mean, how is it for you in the sector?
I've been doing this for 2 or 3 years. There is also something like this. You have the chance to understand whether you can trust a person or not by sitting and spending some time with that person. A little bit, let these buyers buyers meet, let them meet real estate agents, ask them for references. Ask for references, talk to them. They shouldn't believe everyone and everything. This is something I apply in my own life. It doesn't necessarily have to be a real estate purchase. If I'm going to do something and I have to trust someone, I have to find the person I can trust there, the person I can trust the most. This is a sine qua non. It's not a thing. I don't think that all real estate agents and real estate consultants in Europe will always be the ones who tell the most truth. But those who do it well, would a good real estate agent put himself at risk? Would a successful real estate agent say the wrong thing to someone? Are you willing to let your entire professional life be destroyed?
Absolutely not.
No, right?
Okay, right? That's the real estate agent's job.
Yes, it is.
I want to open a parenthesis there. When you say real estate agent in Europe, the legal procedure there is different. Yes, it is. So your system, again, enters into trust. So it protects that trust. It protects the real estate agent, the consumer, the seller, and the buyer, because you can make a transaction in the presence of a notary. This is a very important... Well, here in Turkey, a deed transfer can be done very easily.
Let me put it this way. I would even bet right now, 5 years from now, this will be the case in Turkey. 10 years at the latest,
I
institutionalized.
see trouble if it is not institutionalized. I would like to open the subject again from this point of view in terms of trust. I'll tell you why. Even if you do all the appraisals, even if your friend provides all the trust, it will work.
An institutional structure is needed.
Exactly. Without this, because this is the greatest trust the state can give you. So every person who will call him, who will call him, who will call him, who will go to him, and so on. The state is already protecting you. It says the price of this is 1. Here we call the price of land 1, and so on and so forth. We create them all, we blend them, we create a building. We build and say 5. He says it's not there. He says it's not 5, it's 2.5.
Of course, there is another important detail. The state also introduced the expert report rule because it knew that foreigners would experience some risks in the purchase of property. So today, when a foreigner buys something in Turkey, there has to be an expert report. Moreover, that expert report is not like in the past, Mr. Ahmet, come and do it yourself. System, it chooses itself, and it's done without his knowledge. So I think the problem here is related to the price. That is, the possibility of buying something worth 100 liras for 200 liras has now decreased. This is a very important factor.
A very important detail. Most people don't know this, for example. Do you think this reflects the real price? Let's say the appraisal says this is 2.5, but the seller says this is 5. Yes, it's 5. Like this. Now the difference
Look,
between...
I'm selling real estate that I'm authorized to sell. I personally go, but I have an appraiser whom I collaborate with. He is responsible for preparing the appraisal report for me. When the customer arrives, I present what I possess. You know what I utter then? Observe, I am involved in this. It is an action performed by an acquaintance of mine. I tell you to get it done for yourself for 3,000 to 5,000 liras. But there is something like this that I see. 100 liras worth of fair value, a paid one. When the report comes in the property, it's never 50. 80 comes, 75 comes. Because there, for example, if there are some unauthorized enlargements, the appraiser reduces its value. And as a result, the price between the market price and the expert report is actually the real price. So that's why it's not too far. It's not too far.
It is not.
One does not...
Now let's say that tomorrow I asked an appraiser to determine the value of this location and he successfully identified its true worth. The appraiser's expertise was invaluable. And I can trust him.
Yeah. I was telling the buyers that when you're going to buy something, no matter what I say, no matter what anyone says, go to a bank, borrow some money, but keep it small. Because then the bank sends its own appraiser and he looks at everything in the harshest way and makes a report. You can see it there too. Oh, over there, the reports from the banks are considerably decreased, but at least you can see what the minimum is there.
Minimum.
Having at least this will stop you from purchasing something worth 1 lira at a cost of 5 lira, which is unfavorable in terms of spending. But as I said, this whole expert report used some credit from the bank. This is already an obligation for foreigners. And that's why I think foreigners have an easier job here than Turks right now.
Okay, well, it is more advantageous for me to buy with my foreign identity, not my Turkish identity.
Yes, then you have to.
But the Turks get the same expertise. The same expertise.
If the Turks want to do it, they can do it, but they can't assign a system there. You do what you want. It is not an obligation at home.
Above a certain number, it's mandatory.
You're throwing it away.
Now. So for certain amounts, an evaluation must be done. When exceeding specific credit thresholds, it becomes obligatory.
The loan is acceptable. I refuse to use any credit. I will make the purchase with cash. I'll buy a property without a mortgage, regardless of the price. I don't need an appraiser's report, but I don't need an appraiser's report. I may require it in all likelihood.
As of now, I am interested in completing a transaction for my desired item. I completely adore this recommendation. It's absolutely outstanding. One of my fellow citizens resides in Germany. He expressed, "Hey Bahri, I'm planning to make a purchase in Bodrum, and I'm quite curious about the pricing. I say go and put your money in X Bank. Get a loan, make the purchase on that, the real value.
If you use credit, the bank makes a report.
Definitely utilize credit. Utilize a specific quantity, regardless if it's a limited quantity.
No, you're not. No, but the
He's
bank
preparing
doesn't
it,
prepare an
something paid.
expert
By a lot.
report. However, I believe
But-
that by perceiving it in this manner, he made it equally challenging.
I'm
It is
thinking the other
possible.
way, maybe.
I stored it in a financial
I'm so
institution.
sorry, I have a lot
That
of
is a
experience in
possibility.
this. Now, when we are going to
Okay,
make an
okay.
investment in these matters, let's say we find land and we will buy it. We'll ask the municipality, we'll ask some known people. But if we have doubts, we also ask the bank for an appraisal. He wants to charge an appraisal fee of 10 liras, 20 liras, whatever. Or send a
Okay,
single or
okay,
double
okay,
appraisal,
okay.
depending on the price. He doesn't know who to send them to, by the way.
It's
Or
like hiring an appraiser.
between the
Is there any?
with that appraisal on behalf of the bank, we can get a loan from the bank if we want. He waits with that preparation.
Like this.
If we are talking about a multiple dwelling, if we are talking about a dwelling with 10 flats, if the bank has taken out the whole or one of the blocks, the bank will take that appraisal into consideration. If you want, it has a certain validity right
Foreigners,
now.
they are already obliged to do so. When the buyer is foreign, not the seller. When the buyer is a foreigner, there has to be an expert report.
I bought it today, again in terms of trust. Today I made a purchase with an expert's report. I have foreign status. And I'm going to sell it 5 years later for any reason. Officially, it says here I'll put 2 liras. I bought it for 2 liras. The appraiser called my report. The bank also did it
Yes.
financially. The bank did it. It becomes a credible element. When I sold it, I said, look, I bought it for 2. The reality of this today is 4. So this is more
And this and this and this, yes
reassurance,
it is.
transmitter, an important element when selling.
Of course, of course, of course then.
Now this system is about, if it is executed like this, I'm not just talking about foreigners.
Anyway, look at it like this. There are quite a few drafts right now. I don't know when it's going to happen, but there's a lot of foreign and domestic. The possibility of an expert report being mandatory in all kinds of purchases and sales. And the amount in the expert report at the same time of the price of the... There will be an imposed restriction with a specified threshold. I don't know when it will happen, but I think in 5 to 10 years at the latest. Because right now, think of the other day, I had a very interesting experience. Our biggest money is 200 liras. I bought 2 corns for 200 liras. I mean, do you think that money, how low you stayed?
You were able to get 2 corns.
I mean, you
could have
don't have
said that.
1,000
I mean,
euros,
that's-
do you? Is there 1,000 euros? I haven't seen it, but there's 1,000 francs. 1,000 Swiss francs. Imagine 1,000 Swiss francs, more or less. 37,000 liras. The biggest money we have is 200. Reduced cash flow, accurate declaration of amounts in lira, and enhanced financial tracking. According to him, the correct payment of the fees plus all the houses. I think that recording the actual purchase and sale prices will have a very positive impact on this market in the coming period.
Now such a thing. Act without market's influence. Act without government's bureaucracy.
We are doing the appraisal.
We do what you want.
Are we talking about Turks or foreigners?
Both.
Look, I'm already doing it. I mean, in the houses I sell myself, when I first get authorization for that house without knowing whether I will sell it or not, I have my personal specialist based in Bodrum whom I request to visit and capture photos while measuring a specific subject. In other words, we both measure it together. I say this is 168 square meters. He measures it again. He checks if it's right. Then he goes to the municipality. He looks at the license there. He determines the enlargements. After that, I don't know. Is it true or does he have a problem? He looks at everything. And when a prospective buyer gets serious, I say, look, I can show you this as the first report. It's very effective.
It's a beautiful settlement.
It's very effective.
And I congratulate you. It's a very important, it's a point. And it's one of the questions I get all the time. Last week, my guest came the same way. We sat here, we chatted, and I told him about my purchase. He said it's about the bank. Why? It comes from Germany. I told him about this issue you're talking about. I said, look, I'll take a loan from the bank here. Today, 1 million. If you are talking about dollars, the bank is very soft on you. They love you very much because $1 million, you give it to the bank. It offers financial assistance through loans, provides sub-site services, and conducts evaluations. 114 characters to its true value. That's the only way you're going to be able, you said reference. I'm giving myself a reference. Look, I'm telling you, living it, seeing it on foot. We learned a little expensive, a little cheap. Now you have to evaluate it. But if you want to buy it today in the same way, that element here is very important. You are on the right track here. Mr. Cem's work is also tremendous. You're destroying that connector. Together with the buildings you have built, your construction, please enter the required information. It's that appraisal that will come out.
But there is something missing. This study
Efficiency
focuses on
bias.
prices and is highly beneficial, representing 89 characters. But there is no technical study. So in that appraisal, static structure, technical shallow installation structure, electrical structure is not done. In other words, it is not very possible for a person to provide a proper appraisal. This needs to be done by a...
I suppose it needs to be a collective, correct? There will be an electrician,
Exactly. There
a
will be a
mechanic, and a
mechanic,
builder
statistician,
involved.
maybe an architect, maybe even a landscaper. You are going to buy a second-hand car. Look, everyone takes it to an appraisal. Now, this is because it is very easily accessible. The other one does not have an established system and institution, so there is no world of expertise. You run a mechanical hotel, so you are much more professional. You are doing business. However, you suggested contacting an expert and obtaining an appraisal. Allow me to advise you on what actions to take. You will write a letter to the Chamber of Civil Engineers. They will appoint someone, they will appoint a group. It is a process from the time you write to them to their arrival to the report. You will write separately to the Chamber of Mechanical Engineers. You will write separately to the Chamber of whatsoever and so on. So you don't have an accessible resource on your own.
For real estate, old or new electrical structure. I don't know if there's any here. You know that one in the basement?
I didn't see it here.
You know, you come to a house for a fee. No, it's all under one company. The one that produces a report on the technical condition of this house. The hotels.
Hotels.
If
I
I
don't
take
have
an
one.
example from Europe, I don't know what that property is worth. Extractor, there are institutions.
The value is okay, but especially the technical.
Specifically, this in which the architect, when you go and look and evaluate the technique there, what is there today, what will come on top of it, even at the municipality. He says this, what is the condition of this building? Report it. Accordingly, new and different models are being created that will save you energy. But I care about this with my contractor brothers. When you are building that building, you know the details. The architect knows this too. You're familiar with the cement you utilize as well as the iron, the materials, and the invoices. Because you have a feasibility study there, you have an account. When you look according to that calculation, if you include that value, if you multiply by 2.5 as a factor of that, nobody will say no, because this is a real thing. But here I am trying to summarize it completely. I mean, my cost today. One, the selling price of this is 2.5, because it is far away from the land value and so on and so forth. Doesn't that become an appraisal report then?
But it is biased as a result. I mean, the person who made it, it's akin to having a soccer player also serve as a referee during a match, seamlessly blending both roles.
Yeah,
Isn't it?
The sale, of course, is like this. This is what we do. We do what we call open book, which is cost plus land value plus X. But that's at the point we call technical expertise. That is, you know very well how you build a building. Here's what I rationalized. Blah, blah, blah. When you take into account the expense, the resulting amount is a single figure. I assert exactly 1. When you put 2.5 times on that one, when you put the profit and so on and so forth, you get a value. So if you reflect it,
Share art, that is the
if you reflect
customer.
it as a customer. If you share,
You have started a project of 20 apartments. There is a difference here. Inflation is 0. The foreign currency has never increased. Let's say the cost of 1 lira for all of them is still 1 lira. The prices of the first house you sell and the 20th house you sell are different. So what you sold for 100 units, you sell for 80 to 90 in the first sales. You know, it is harmful at first because let the business work. Let people say that they have sold it. There are also many advertising stages. But usually the one who buys the last house buys the first house very cheaply and buys the best option. He chooses the best, but he takes a risk. Why? Because it's only partially started. There is no guarantee that it will be finished. He has to trust the person. Many things can go wrong. So many things happen in our country. We love our country very much. The earthquake, the terror, the coup never ends. Something is happening. There are many unnatural causes. The last house is now finished. The contractor has reached a certain level. Therefore, he is now more comfortable with his profitability, and it doesn't matter to him whether he sells it or not. That's why the last house is the safest house. But it's the most expensive house. And the truth is, I think it's the most featureless house. It has the least view. It is the least accessible house. That's why we don't have a standard price for every house. All of them, not houses sold for 100 liras, when the first house was 80 liras. The 20th house, it can happen.
Actually, we can get to a point here. This is a question that the audience asks, the price of the property, the question of who determines and how. Because I want you as a real estate agent, this is what I'm saying. The market and the market alone determines the price of a property. I bought it here, I paid this much for it, then I want to make this much profit now, so the price is this much. It's not possible. What does this look like? You are doing a feasibility study in any other business. Let's say you are going to make a mouse, you have calculated it, the plastic is from here, the engineer is from here, the factory is from here, that's it. This costs $1,000 each. Would you say I am selling it for $1,000? You compare this price with the market and decide whether to do this job or not. But a real estate property, I bought it for this much. The new house I will buy is this price, or I cost this much, I have to make this much profit. There is no point in that. It only affects your decision whether to sell or not, whether to buy or not. But
you can say Bodrum is a very good market.
yes,
Because Bodrum is a branded city today, our town. is a lovely town. It has very magnificent bays. I fell in love with it when I was young. As a young man who came to Bodrum at the age of 18, 50 years old today. If you can come, it's a beautiful love. The price of real estate here, the market here,
Exactly.
not Turkey.
No. This is a
is the
micro
place.
market, and this is like a diamond in the rough of Turkey. There is something like this. There are beautiful places in the Aegean coastal towns, but think about it. The people who will buy real estate are now above a certain age, especially in Turkey. There are two very serious needs above a certain age, education and health. You can reach both of these here in one way or another. So this is a very special place with its name, history, and everything. That is why, especially after the pandemic, prices have gone up as a result of the increase in demand here. In the meantime, the number of sales also went up a lot. After the pandemic ended, actually 2022, after the last second, third quarter, customs started to go down. In the last year, prices in real terms is going down, albeit slightly. In nominal terms, of course, plus a lot of inflation. But in real terms, in foreign currency terms, in the last year, in the last 6-7 months, there has been a backward movement of 10-15%. But it seems to me that this won't go on for too long because limited space. So there's no space.
The lack of space is another factor, and this beauty is what makes Bodrum Bodrum. You're saying buy a place, so no matter what, the prices are real.
I don't think they're real either. They're lower. It's like this. Look at this. Lower. I think it's too low right now. It's like this. To buy, it's a good time to buy. It's a very good time to buy. He's loaded for cash. I'm talking about now. Yeah, I'm talking about now. Now is the time to buy. Why is that? Because look, it's as hard as it can be for a developer to build a house right now. The supply is very limited. I mean, a lot of my contractor friends don't want to do business right now because it is really hard to deal with it. The processes are very long, costs are very high, the number of people you can employ is decreasing. There is an employment problem in this sector. Public provisions are much more difficult to answer now. Land costs continue to increase. On the contrary, they are not decreasing. We used to say that the contractor wins a little bit, the owner wins some, the state wins some, the seller of construction materials wins a little. There is no problem in the earnings of others at the moment. Look, iron prices are still increasing in real terms. They will increase even more because supply is restricted. When supply is restricted, you have difficulty in obtaining it. The supply of labor is limited. There is none. You give it to a less qualified craftsman at higher wages, and the total cost to you is becoming more and more. Prices have fallen a lot in real terms. In other words, it has come to prices that cannot be built. Look at the price per square meter of land. Look at the price per square meter per house. Look at manufacturing. I think prices in Bodrum, far below acceptable levels at the moment. Ongoing projects are being done to finish them. My contractor friends, our contractor brothers and sisters that I know, are not starting new projects. It is not real. They are trying to go to other sectors. And there is a demand here too. There is a serious need here too. For this reason, okay, the interest rates are very high right now. But let me give you an example. I will give it anonymously. My friend tried to sell it for 20 million TL last year, and it really cost him 15, 16 million. 4 million may seem like a big profit. But the risks a contractor takes are very high. There are too many risks. There is a process. He is putting money into it. It is a big investment. Look, even the houses that he tried to sell for 20 million, he is selling them for 12 million this year in TL. Because, he can't get out of it. He's trying to run his ship. He has other sectors. I know there are people like that. Right now, you can buy a 20 million house for 12 million with high interest, and you will make a huge profit from it. When interest rates improve, you refinance and solve it.
I prepared a table. I made this morning. You know what this is?
You've done your homework.
Or rather 2019, or the last day of the year 2020, the first day. We are 3 friends. Each of us has 100 liras. One of us says, I'm an interest rate dealer. One of us says, I'm a real estate agent. One of them says, no, brother, don't get me involved. I'm a dollar trader. All 3 of us go. One of us buys a house for 100 liras. One of us buys dollars. And one of us deposits the money in interest.
Work.
And by the way, taking into account inflation, the one who deposited 100 liras, today he has 50 liras. Actually, let's not call it 100 liras. That day he could buy 100 loaves of bread with this money. Today he can buy 50 loaves of bread. Our dollar seller friend had enough money to buy 100 loaves of bread then. Now he can buy 110. Real estate invested. Our friend now has 260 bread money. He has money to buy 260 loaves of bread. And look, there's something like this. It's maximized here. And now it will go down from here. I am very interested in math. These graphs don't go up and down. It goes down slowly. It goes up slowly. Now it's going. Some buyers say, let's wait a little bit over there. They say, what will happen over there? And you know what I say? If I knew what would happen here, I'll be the richest man in the world in no time. Now this one will go. He'll come back at some point. It has to. Yes, there is no production. And of course, as you just said, look, I will give you one more piece of information there. This is also important information. There are ratios of first-hand and second-hand sales. This is the total for Turkey, here too, with and without credit. Look, without credit. In other words, it has fallen below 10% in the first 5 months of 2024. In other words, credit sales have fallen below 10%, like 10% in total. First-hand, second-hand sales are almost equal at 2013. Look, 2016 is always close. Currently, second-hand is falling. But of course, there is also an interesting situation with second-hand. In the end, I say second-hand, first-hand are new houses. As a result, they are contractors' houses. When contractors get stuck, because the loan interest rates are very high at the moment, there is a situation of selling a few houses that I have cheaply. This is already starting to pull down the second-hand prices. So we are actually going through a very exciting process.
It is a mutual reflex that these contractors get stuck and are forced to stay and sell.
But it's a very cutting period. The contractor invests in
This
something
is very
else.
important from the buyer's point of view. I'm asking myself this question right now. Purchase I want to make, and how long does this process take? A year, 6 months? All the remaining developers have sold their properties. After that, the prices go up again.
So look at it this way. My comment here is this. Let's wait a little longer and buy lower. This will be such a thing that you will be unable to buy. So when it starts to break, this time last month it was 100,000 liras. Now it's 200, 120,000. Let's wait. You'll see that what was 100,000 6 months ago is now 150,000. There is no such world. When I buy real estate, I will buy it when it is the cheapest. And when I sell it, I will sell it on the most expensive day. There is no such thing. There is no such thing in stocks.
The graph shows it very well.
I also looked at it in the morning. The difference between 2013 and today has increased, but there is something else there. Do you know what's going well? It's even better than real estate right now. When we bring it up to today, which is in better shape than real estate right now. Your prediction under a gram. Yes, it laughs. Yeah.
I think gold has already increased as much as it has increased.
Of course, gold is very much affected by the developments in the world. Gold can go very low. But someone who already has money today and not buy real estate with everything, he will also buy its gold. He will also invest money in TL interest. Interest is going down. It is not clear what will happen next. In other words, it is not clear what will happen in the coming period. That's why we need to put different eggs in different baskets. But do you know what I think is the most important advantage of real estate compared to these? It is not a liquid thing. Do you know why real estate brings money in the long run? When something happens, you sell the real estate when you have to. You can go to a foreign exchange office and exchange it as you pass by. You can exchange gold. You can sell the car immediately. You can sell it immediately. But real estate, more because it's not easy to sell, he stays with us. And the longer he stays, and the price is going up because the demand is always there. That's my interpretation.
This is very important. Another element, the main basic need. Today you have a real estate house. So every person wants to have a house. I want my own place. I want it to be mine, which I think makes real estate more meaningful and logical than gold. You cannot sit on gold. But it is a very, very important element in terms of a home where you can sit in your house very comfortably with your family.
If I had a political power right now, I would put a very serious tax on empty houses. And this is very common in Switzerland.
Germany has introduced the same law.
It will be done as needed. It will be done as much as necessary. It will be done by planning. This is one of Bodrum's headaches. Houses are built, people come. In the fall, they don't just leave their dogs, they also leave their houses who don't pay their winter dues. The house is in disrepair, not properly maintained. That's why when they say, I'm going to live for 2 months, I'm coming for 15 days, they will either rent it out or do something. But otherwise, when a house is lived in for 15 days or when it is lived in for a month, it doesn't stay alive, it's not taken care of. So many technical problems. It is very important. I think it would be very useful if they did something about empty houses, but not as much as Europe. But this should be like this. I always criticize this. Suddenly a law is changed. No.
I think we should present it to the parliament now.
Yes, I mean, that's exactly how it should be. All of a sudden it's changed. All of a sudden the tax is like this. No, brother, people bought and sold accordingly. You tell me, say after 1 year, after 2026, we will even implement this gradually, say that so that people can make plans. But as I said, I think it is a very important
I think it is
element.
also important to constantly raise such important issues and even force the municipalities. You have to, because this issue starts from municipal. Yes, we need to open a parenthesis. You know the city planning, the 61 project. I was personally involved in that city planning, which is one of them. Where did we do it? We did it in Europe, because Europe did the city planning, and we wanted to reflect this in Turkey with a work for Trabzon. Trabzon is still continuing 61 project, and I think it will continue for another 20 years. But a city is emerging now. There is a format, there is an urbanism. You say planning is very good. It is not enough just to make a plan. Of course, it needs to be implemented. This is a very important element in real estate and urbanism. If this happens for Bodrum, I am also very happy because we don't want housing everywhere anymore. I mean, if we can preserve a little bit of green space.
It is not easy. They asked what are the most common mistakes customers make.
I'll tell you what, I have a prediction about the need for housing. The state will start urban transformation soon, maybe in regions, big cities, maybe it will also cover these places. The movement of urban transformation here, especially in places like Bodrum, may increase the need for housing. It may increase the need for housing demand, especially in zero housing. Places where urban transformation is taking place are turning into construction sites, and people do not want to stay here. There is already no housing. They automatically go to places where they feel more peaceful and safer. This is one of the most beautiful places in Turkey. That's why we are here. Especially when prices are low, owning a house is really an attraction in terms of both renting and living.
Now, not everyone can come to Bodrum. I mean, to reflect the reality of the business a little bit. Is there a misconception that only the rich come to Bodrum?
Built for 5 million, 7 million, 9 million. And the one that's going on right now...
We're talking about the Turkish lira?
Yes. Let me go in reverse. There's the place we sold for 49 million. There's the one we're trying to sell, 40 million. There's 9 million. There's 7 million, 5 million. Where's the 5 million right now? Güreçe, in the upper area of the Islam Haneleri. The project is more. For example, not me, but my contractor friends have houses on the Momkila side worth 2.5 million. They sold them. So in fact, in Bodrum, you are in the most central part of Istanbul. So actually in Bodrum, in the most central place in Istanbul, if you are going to sit with a baby, of course you will pay a price, but you don't have to live with a baby in Istanbul. I mean, it's suitable. There are other places to live in Istanbul. So is the Bodrum, where you can live and where there are places where you can access many facilities. In Momkila, you can sit here for 2.5 to 3 million, which are already considered normal prices across Turkey. As I said, 7 million above the Islam Haneleri at the moment that we're giving away from the land. 2+1 double bathrooms with a shared pool and a view. 49 million. This may be a bit of a dream for all of us. It may need private investors. Anyway, these are not places for general sale, places with special features and artistic activities. That's why I think Bodrum, a place where people with dreams can live them. We're all in love with Bodrum.
Exactly. I mean, where does the buyer make mistakes?
Where is it done? What is your experience?
This is what our close friend told us personally. During the British period, when the British were buying, someone sold a house to someone. Then we got involved in the fresh lines of that house. That's how I know. The first sales document. Look, when you're sitting at the bar having a drink, on a napkin. I sold this house to this person. Signature, and underneath, I love you.
A house sold for how many thousand?
£40,000 is very low. They are very cheap houses then. Of course, what do you expect from a £40,000 house? They pay for that house by renting it out in a year or two. That's another story, but it's their investment. It's a way of buying, expecting a result from this purchase. It's unusual to expect happiness and trust. We talked about expertise. We talked about the need for professionals like Mr. Cent to get in there. These are also happening. There are also some things that fall on the customer.
I mean, the customer should know her role as a customer, do justice to it, don't just come and buy it out of the blue, research it well by applying to real estate agents whom he trusts and respects, and you are friends here who do their job very well. Thank you. These are very important.
I am in a position to sell him a house here, and I am in a position to make money. Do you know what I would say? First, come and rent a house for 6 months and see where it suits you to live. You go to a place you don't know and say, I'm buying from over there. Just because you went and liked the sea there, do you go to the sea every day? Will you be uncomfortable here in the summer when it's too crowded? Do you go anywhere in the evenings? I mean, does it have water or not? All these things.
The water issue is also on the agenda. Again, this is an actual situation.
Our metropolitan municipality is focused on this. I think our road and water will be solved. The municipality and other institutions are now aware of this issue and are involved in it. It does not fall under the jurisdiction of our mayor. It actually falls under the jurisdiction of our metropolitan municipality. There was a problem with DSI. Both organizations are actually very well intentioned, and already intensive work started after the elections.
As someone who is involved, that is your perspective on the matter.
Trying to keep a close watch. Me, yes. We'll spend the summer without water. But the next summer, definitely the water problem will be solved. Technical issues are solved very easily. It's just the
only money. When they go to the US, there are a lot of problems with food. That's my guess. Turkey is in such a location that it is at the center of the world. Everyone loves the food here. And I think this is something that is culturally rooted in the past, something that suits everyone's taste buds. You can stay for a long time. First of all, it has a wonderful climate. Is it important to see the sea or to be flat-footed? Let him decide. The view is the view. Then 3 years later, he says, this place is too hilly, I don't want to come here. So he says, we're talking about the mistakes they make, not knowing what you want.
The mistake is that you don't know what you want. You don't know. These 6 months are a very important period. That is, it is necessary to fill that space, that concept that we call living space. You fill it if you live it. If you are going to come and stay for a month, if you are thinking of a place in the form of a summer house, you can go in and out of the sea.
I guess that's it now. I don't know. Do you have any questions left?
Yes, I do. How do current regulations and government policies affect the sector?
What I would say here is that there are actually no special regulations that negatively affect the market, but there are some problems in the details. Starting to live in houses without obtaining a license, then not obtaining a license, failure to check whether the second stage of the stages of the zoning amnesty has been carried out. A number of such more zoning-oriented problems can have a negative impact on those who take more from the market later on. But as far as I can see in the recent period, a lot of things about this will go better than before. There is no regulation that I know of that has a very negative impact on the market. I don't know, both as a manufacturer and as a big investor, do you see any problems?
No, there is not.
Okay, I'll go to the last question then. A real estate agent, a contractor, and an investor, if they were partners now, what would they prioritize?
Well, all three are involved in sports. We can do something about sports.
If the three of us were partners, I would immediately say that we are neither too far inside Bodrum nor too far outside Bodrum, not too far in Bodrum. I'd say let's buy a nice plot of land right in the middle between the outside and the inside. We'll wait. We'll buy it as an investment. We won't start as soon as we buy it. We'll build here after a while. There are investors here.
You're a real estate agent now.
There is the investor. There is also the seller. There is also the producer. At the appropriate time, we will realize this together and solve your foreigners there.
I've signed. Find the land. Good luck with the land, sir. Good luck with our
Thank
business.
you.
Thank you. That was very valuable information. Tremendous.